Recording
So
started. Should I even bother playing the intro? You know what? I'll play it, but we'll talk. We won't have. We'll talk through the whole thing. How about that?
we'll talk through the intro.
We'll talk through the whole intro music. I won't wait. I won't even wait till the beat drops.
Okay.
Well, hello there, partiers. I know that seems a little different. We usually wait till the beat drops on our intro song, but yours truly was a dumbass that forgot to hit record on
Yeah,
this exciting, tired episode of Party Pastime.
yeah, we lost 3 minutes of recording. 3 minutes of my life I'll never get back. Um. Anyway, it's still after 11 p.m. It's still a couple days before a hurricane brings
Yeah,
inclement weather to our part of the state.
you know, all the good
And
stuff that we want on today's episode of Party Pastime. Patrick
yeah,
is sad about his favorite burger joint, Goody Goody, closing up, but
yeah, it's
they're not renewing their lease. But that doesn't mean that they're going out of business, though.
it's possible that they'll find a new location. They haven't said anything about it, but they said they'll keep us posted, and at least for the time being, you'll still be able to get some of their food at the Columbia Cafe, which is good to know. But before the week is out, definitely before they close, I want to get over there and get my usual order, which is the chili cheeseburger with fries and for dessert, a slice of chocolate silk pie a la mode.
Yo, that's a
Um,
chocolate silk pie. Yo, that sounds delicious.
it hits, dude. It's so good. Their pies are delicious. I really like their peanut butter pie too. Um, yeah, shout out to Goody Goody. It's been, in Tampa in some shape or form for 99 years since 1925. So hopefully it's not the end and they find a cheaper place to put up there, no matter where it is.
Patrick, let's go ahead and jump into today's show. First of all, what do we have today? We have a ton of game stuff to talk about. That's gaming is going wild again. We have some reviews, but Pat, let's talk about this piece of exciting news. It was rumored that Warp Tour, one of the biggest music festivals of all time, was going to come back. I guess
Yeah.
now it's sort of been confirmed, but nothing has really come out yet. The creator of Warp
Right.
Tour, Kevin Lindman, he said
Yeah, so Kevin
recently,
Lyman said that he's
Lyman,
doing something.
yeah, he said we have something cooking for 2025. Details should be ready in a few weeks. That was
Right.
said about. Let me see if I can get the date here. On the 19th. So it's
Been about a week.
been about a week. So maybe sometime beginning of October we should be hearing it from the guy. But
Yeah.
Pat, social media's been going crazy with this news. It should be clarified that nothing has really been confirmed. It may not
Right.
even be Warp Tour coming back,
Sure.
but
So, yeah.
it's still
Um,
pretty exciting to hear the guy say something, though.
yeah, social media has been alight with rumors recently about a potential Warp Tour comeback, and if Kevin Lyman is saying that, he's doing something, I mean, Kevin Lyman created Warp Tour, so I'm inclined to believe that this is a revival of Warp Tour. I just listen, I want people to temper their expectations. A tour like a tour like Warp Tour, as in a traveling festival like Warp Tour in 2025 is basically impossible. Like logistically speaking, with how many bands would potentially be on the docket,
Right.
as all the buses, all the travel, all the crew and stuff. Um, if Warp Tour is coming back next year, and it seems likely that it is more than likely going to be in the shape of something like Sick New World Festival or When We Were Young Festival.
When We Were
And
Young,
it
that's the one I was thinking of, because I was gonna ask, wasn't there a like an alternative that kind of came out a couple years ago? It was When We Were Young. That's the one I was thinking of.
yeah, it's been running every year since 2021.
Hmm.
Um so it'll probably be a 1 to 2 day festival that's in one city, and that's it. Um,
Hmm.
if we're inclined, if you want to take this even further, rumors are suggesting that this is being sponsored or funded or put together by none other than the supervillain of the concert industry, Live Nation.
Oh, we love Live Nation around here.
Um,
Expensive tickets.
Fuck Live Nation. I'll say it. I'll say it. Fuck Live Nation. So this is probably going to be expensive. Would be my
Yay!
guess. Like expensive. Um until I see the lineup and where it is and when it is, I can't, I mean I can't really give, I guess,
Right.
an opinion on this.
Now, has it
Um,
been confirmed that it is with Live Nation, or those just still rumors too?
it's just a rumor,
Okay,
but I mean, for something of this scale and size, it's probably Live Nation.
gotcha.
I mean, Live Nation basically has a monopoly on this type of stuff.
Right.
So, um, I'm going to safely assume it will be Warped Tour under Live Nation, which feels dirty. It feels wrong. Um as someone who attended the final, touring Warp Tour, like I would, in 2018, um I was excited. I was excited to be there, and it was also, I don't know. It was cool to be at the end of an iconic, like, staple of alternative and punk culture.
Yeah.
Um, so I know the demand for it has been crazy, but it's also just kind of, it feels weird to me to have Warped Tour brought back, like resurrected, like the exhumed corpse of Warped Tour is like it's alive and shambling under Live Nation. It feels a little weird. But hey, we'll see. Maybe the lineup will be fire, and I'll eat crow, and I'll buy a ticket and make travel arrangements. Um, but until then, yeah, that's the that's the theory.
I guess the best thing we
Since
can wish for is that if it is just going to be more of a one location, a 2 day thing, I think the best thing we can wish for, Pat, is for have it to be in Florida, at least to work for our benefit. So someone like me that hasn't never attended Warp Tour, Pat, I kind of got into this stuff just at the wrong time. Linkin Park comes back without Chester Bennington. I had just started listening to Linkin Park, and I'm like, man, it would have been so cool to see Chester Bennington live. Warp Tour makes a comeback, and I'm like, well, shit. If the rumors are true that Live Nation is doing it, and it's gonna be just this one place 2 day event, man, I really got into this stuff at the wrong time, didn't I?
yeah, you did. I was a yearly Warp Tour attendee from 2010 to 2018.
Yeah.
Um, ah, man. When
I'll,
We Were Young is really cool this year too.
mhm.
I can't like I can't really. It sucks because I don't think I could make it work with my schedule and,
Right.
prices and travel and hotel.
Right. I
But
know when We Were Young was first announced, it was people were very 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 skeptical of the event, uh, because the lineup that they had like that first year, people were saying like, oh, this is like too good to be true. That's a sick lineup.
Well,
I know
also it
some
was
bands weren't. They never really agreed to perform, and some of the names were. So some of the bands' names were kind of on there too. So,
yeah.
so
So
it was like a whole mess when it was when this was first when We Were Young was
well,
first
yeah.
created.
'Cause it also was just like one, we were still in the middle of COVID-19, right?
Right.
So they were announcing a huge like alternative slash emo slash punk like festival revival in the middle of a pandemic. It had an insanely stacked lineup, like the like like an elder emo's wet dream lineup. And it was also originally announced as one day. Like it was a 1 day festival
Right.
originally. And then they expanded it to be have a second day and then a third day. And I heard that, the first year was a little rocky, but then subsequent years were a bit better. This year's interesting because this year has an insane lineup, and also apparently every band is playing like their most iconic album in full. Um and My Chemical Romance is there this year. And for the first time ever, they're playing the Black Parade in its entirety. Um, and I really hate that I can't be there. That really sucks. Speaking of which, 2 years ago today, I saw My Chemical Romance after almost 3 years of waiting
Wow.
after I bought the tickets.
Wow.
I bought my tickets to see MCR in November 2019 for a show that was supposed to be September 2020, and I didn't see them until September 2022 because they delayed the show
Uh,
for a
I
they delayed the yeah, they
I
delayed the
remember
show
that.
for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they delayed the show for a year twice because of
I
COVID.
remember that. Yep.
So
That was wild.
I held those tickets for almost 3 years. At one point, I thought it just wasn't gonna happen.
Hmm.
And then, but they stuck with it. They kept their word,
Right.
and they stuck with it. And I finally got to see them, and it was one of the absolute best nights of my life. That's just a random aside, but
You know who is on tour right now that I didn't even know was on tour? Sum 41. They were in Miami last night, and they were
yep,
just in Orlando tonight.
yep, it's their final tour.
I Man, I really need to stay in the loop of all this stuff.
They're wrapping it up, dude. It's their final tour.
Yeah, and they just released their last album, right? Or is going to release the last album?
Yeah, they released it a couple months ago.
Gotcha.
Last album, last tour.
Man.
I'm not seeing them on this tour, but I've seen them a few times now.
Right.
So I'm not like super bummed. I mean, I kind of wish I was going, but also the last time I saw them, they played "Does This Look Infected" in full for its 15th anniversary.
Mhm.
So I got to see them play my favorite album of theirs live in its entirety, and a bunch of other great songs too.
Right.
And they'll never do that again. So I feel fortunate to have been there for that at least.
Pat, let's go ahead and jump into our of a ton of stuff that happened. Let's start with Annapurna. What exactly happened with Annapurna? I have an article open here on Variety. The staff of Annapurna Interactive, the games division of Megan Ellinson's Annapurna, has resigned en masse after a deal to spin off the group fell through, Bloomberg reports. The staff exodus came after a breakdown in talks between Ellison and Nathan Gary, formerly president of Annapurna Interactive, to spin off the gaming unit off as a separate company. All 25 members of the Annapurna Interactive team collectively resigned, Gary and the other employees said in a joint statement Thursday to Bloomberg. This is one of the hardest decisions we have ever had to make, and we did not take this action lightly. And just to clarify, this did happen on September 12th.
Yep.
And this is what Ellison has said about it. Our top priority is continuing to support our developer and publishing partners during this transition. We're committed to not only our existing slate of games, but also expanding our presence in the interactive space as we continue to look for opportunities to take a more integrated approach to linear and interactive storytelling across film and TV, gaming, and theater. So just to clarify, this does have no effect on what we discussed, Pat, just a couple weeks ago, the collaboration that they're having with Remedy.
Yeah. Yeah, this has no bearing on the Remedy deal.
Mm-hmm. Now, what exactly happened? I'm not really quite sure. All we know is that just 25 members of the interactive team just collectively resigned. Do you happen to know exactly what happened, Pat? I mean,
no, not really. Apparently, they were trying to spin the team off into like a separate entity, and they just
which is what I said, but I guess it just
that's literally it. Like,
okay,
that's like talks between Ellenson and the staff, doing that. Or like, attempting to negotiate that completely eroded, and every single member of the staff quit. Like, they just all resigned. Ooh. That's it. That's all there is to it. We have literally no other details. Mm-hmm. So, pretty fucking wild. I can't think of any other time where there was just an actual mass exodus of an entire, like the staff of an entire company. So, or a division of a company, I should say, because Annapurna is huge.
Right.
I'm curious about the future. Annapurna is an excellent publisher, and they get a lot of unique and interesting games out. So
mm-hmm.
I just I wish we did know more specifically, like what they were negotiating.
Yeah, well, that's what I was meant to ask when I was saying like what exactly did happen. That's
no, we did, what you said is what we know.
Yeah. So it is wild, but I'm sure you're at least still a little happy, Pat, that it has no effect on what we talked about with the partnership with Remedy, getting this stuff with, Alan Wake and Control, because they're still doing that. And like what Allison said, everything that was said about the TVs and film is still going to happen. But other than that, like it's still wild though.
It's crazy. I read this headline and I actually almost spit out my coffee when I was reading it. It was like the first thing I saw when I woke up that morning. Pretty shocking.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I can't think of another time where something like this happened.
Mm-hmm.
At least not recently, in recent history. So
yeah, it's been about 2 weeks now, and really no other details have really come out about like what was exactly being negotiated. Maybe we might hear stuff come out. Maybe we won't.
I doubt we ever hear anything.
Yeah.
Unless Jason Schreier gets on the case, in which case we'll probably hear everything. But that's, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Pat, let's go ahead and jump into the news with PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 5 Pro has been announced.
Yeah.
And what are we exactly getting with the PlayStation 5 Pro? I have their blog opened up here.
So
this is some of their key features. Upgraded GPU that has 67% more compute units than the current PS5 console and 28% faster memory. It also has advanced ray tracing, a more powerful ray tracing that provides a more dynamic reflection and refraction of light. And of course, AI-driven upscale. that uses a machine learning based technology to provide super sharp image clarity by adding an extraordinary amount of detail. Okay, seems cool. How much are we getting it for, Pat?
$700.
Oh my gosh. Please tell me this comes with a disk drive.
It doesn't. It doesn't. The PlayStation 5
Please
Pro
tell
is
me it
all digital.
Please tell me it at least comes with a stand.
It does not.
Oh,
It does
no.
not. It doesn't come with a disk drive or a vertical stand.
Oh my god.
As a matter of fact, if you want to buy a PlayStation 5 Pro with a disk drive and a vertical stand, you're looking at, I think, just around $810 before tax.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so the internet has clowned this quite a bit because $700 in the year of our Lord 2024 is not a cheap asking price for something that, as of right now, doesn't seem to do a whole lot to justify its existence. They had a showcase for this thing, and the games they chose to showcase this with are years old PlayStation 4 games, most of which are already enhanced on PlayStation 5. I don't think anybody is impressed by the fact that the PlayStation 5 Pro runs The Last of Us Part 2, which was the swan song for the PS4, at a better resolution with a higher frame rate. Especially since The Last of Us Part 2 already has a PS5 support patch that makes the game run at 60 FPS.
So,
which is...
Last of Us 2 is one of the games. The list that they have on their blog is Alan Wake 2, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Demon's Souls, Dragon Dogma 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Gran Turismo 7, Hogwarts Legacy, Horizon Forbidden West, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Ratchet and Clank Drift Apart, the Crew Motorfest, and The First Descendant.
And listen, I'll say that, there's maybe more games, coming in the pipeline or something.
I think tonight or tomorrow begins their next State of Play, which
happened earlier.
And from what I understand, like 20-something games have been announced.
20-something games is nothing to do with the PS5 Pro. They jumped onto the PS5, like they played, a little bit about the PS5 Pro, but it just reiterated the same list of games that you just read off.
Oh my god.
I'll tell you this much. Of all the games on that list, the only one to me... So there are two that stand out. Dragon's Dogma 2 and Final Fantasy VII Remake do genuinely... And I have seen examples of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Right.
Or Rebirth, rather. Okay, I'll put it to you this way. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's performance mode on PS5 looks like dog shit. It runs at 60 FPS, but it is jarringly blurry. Like it just does not look good, right? They put out 2 different patches to address it. And a lot of feedback before the game came out was about how bad the performance mode looked.
Oh my god.
Right? I have seen... And, listen, I put up with it because it's a higher frame rate and, Rebirth is an action RPG, and I value frame rate over visuals. But even I heavily contemplated switching back to the graphics mode. Just so that it wouldn't, it was so blurry, it actually hurt my eyes to look at sometimes.
Right.
So I have seen footage of the performance mode running on PlayStation 5 Pro, and that is actually genuinely a massive upgrade. And, Dragon's Dogma 2, probably the same thing. Dragon's Dogma 2 has an unlocked frame rate on PlayStation 5, but it usually runs somewhere in the mid to upper 30s. So the PlayStation 5 Pro probably gets it closer to a 60 FPS or higher frame rate. So that's cool. But it's $700.
I've heard,
And
I've heard theories that because the PlayStation 5 didn't really sell as much, one, because of scalpers, but two, because I guess when the PS5 first came out, PlayStation, Sony just ran out of parts or something. I don't remember the story entirely, but
so
the things that I've heard is that PlayStation is doing that so they can purposely sell more regular PS5s.
okay, yeah, that's an absolutely insane conspiracy theory. The PlayStation 5 has sold fantastic. As soon as, especially like once they started getting, more parts in relatively, it's one of the fastest selling consoles of all time, I think. And also, it's just like, I don't know, man. On the one hand, I think there is a bit of a market for this. Because, pro consoles, people who want the absolute best out of their gaming machines live for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Normally I live for this kind of stuff. I was a PlayStation 4 Pro adopter. I bought the enhanced Xbox One at the time.
Yeah.
I bought the Switch OLED. I'm super into this kind of stuff because I'm a hardcore gamer.
Yeah.
But $700 with no disc drive is a lot. Like that's a lot of money. You would have to show me more than enhancements for years old games that I have already played.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like what I think the guy on Spawnwave, I don't remember his name. He does his podcast, Spawncast, with a couple of his buddies. He said that's one of his recent episodes where the graphics just get lost, and there's really no performance. The performance is not really better because of all the stuff that you kind of already said, Pat. I've seen comparisons, most notably with like The Last of Us Part 2, where the graphics on the on just like the regular PS5 look much better than on the Pro.
Well, it's just I think the Pro does look better, right? I mean, it's all subjective.
Yeah.
I think it looks better. I don't think it looks so dramatically better that I could justify the purchase.
Yeah.
I think the PlayStation 5 Pro, and I said this to you in our chat on Messenger about it, I think it's just emblematic of the plateau that we're reaching in terms of fidelity in games.
Right.
Games already look so good that, you can make it look a little bit sharper. You can make the shadows look a little bit more realistic. But is that enough to get me to pay $700? If you showed me like PlayStation 5 Pro exclusive games, or you showed me games that were markedly better on the PS5 Pro, like, I don't know, maybe Ghost of Yote was announced today at the State of Play. If you show me that Ghost of Yote is like almost a completely different game on the PS5 Pro, then maybe that's an incentive or something. But you're not gonna get me to spend $700 because the game that I played 5 years ago or looks a little bit better now. And it's I'll concede Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in performance mode looks much, much better. I've already played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like, to completion. Like, you know,
Right.
I'm not gonna do it. I think most people aren't. Now, similar, you know, the PS4 Pro ultimately only accounted for about 13% of total PS4 sales.
Right.
I think this number will be a bit smaller.
Yeah.
But maybe, you know, maybe it doesn't have to sell like hotcakes. Maybe it really does only have to, you know, sell 10 to 11% of the total console sales, and they'll be fine with that. I think the PS4 Pro was a bit more of an upgrade just because the PS4 Pro came out at a time when 4K was just
4K,
becoming the
yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
4K was just becoming the standard in 2016 when the Pro released. And also, the Pro was only $400 at the time.
Yeah.
So, you know, that felt like, to me, that felt like a leap.
Yeah, but it was a leap, but also it felt justified too with the price. Like,
oh yeah, of course.
4K gaming. Yeah. Now you would have to get a 4K TV, which is, you know, what you did, Pat. But still, you got more bang for your buck with that.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, at the time, because I mean, at the time, building a 4K capable PC was just like super expensive.
Yeah.
At the time. So for like accessible 4K gaming for $400, which was, I mean, yeah, that was a no-brainer to me. And yeah, I had to buy a 4K TV, but my TV was also only $400.
Yeah.
So for $800, I put together a 4K gaming setup that lasted me through the entire rest of the generation and beyond. So yeah, people are pretty down about this. What a weird time for PlayStation.
Weird time indeed, because Pat, I think we're kind of in another week of like a very low for PlayStation, but also a very nice high for PlayStation 2, because they also announced their 30th anniversary collection. Of course, one of them being the PS5 Pro.
Yes.
But you can just get the regular console. I believe, I could be wrong, so you could correct me on this, Pat, but I believe that what the current price is of just a regular PlayStation 5 is.
They haven't announced prices.
Yeah, they haven't yet. Okay, okay. See, I thought they did.
They have not announced prices. I imagine these will be more expensive.
Really?
Because, well, I mean, they're special editions. I don't know. Generally speaking, limited edition PlayStations are usually a bit more.
Okay.
Sometimes they come with a game, sometimes they don't. But I suspect the PS5 Pro, at a minimum, like the 30th anniversary PS5 Pro, will probably be higher than the regular MSRP. Only because it's limited.
Yeah, they're only
and
selling like what? They're only selling like what? 12,000 of these consoles.
12,300 of the Pro. The regular PS5 Digital Edition 30th anniversary isn't as limited. It's still limited, but it's not numbered, so it's assumed that it's, you know, available in higher quantities. Right. So yeah, these go up for pre-order in 2 days from Sony Direct, from PlayStation Direct.
Yeah.
And then after that,
they will be released on November 21st, just in time for Christmas.
Right, so November 21st is when the PS5 Pro comes out. So these come out the same day as the regular PS5 Pro.
Gotcha.
But you can also start pre-ordering them from other retailers on, I think, October 10th. So, I'll be honest, I'm still not interested in the Pro. But that Slim,
dude,
is looking hot. Oh, dude, looking hot.
Oh yeah, dude, that Slim is looking pretty good, and it's tempting me.
It's looking hot, brother. I'm such a sucker, bro. They literally had me by the balls just by making like PS1 aesthetic stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, because I was like, oh, I can't really justify the PlayStation 5 Pro. I already have a PS5. But the Slim is a bit easier to justify because I could just, trade up basically. I could just I could pre-order, so let's say somehow I managed to snipe a pre-order off of GameStop. I could just
Right.
trade my current PS5 into the new Slim model
Right.
and I'd be fine. Or actually, I have a fucking Xbox I don't play anymore and I could just trade in and it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Originally I was just gonna buy the controller. Like I was just gonna try and get like the PS1 DualSense controller. But then I found out that if you buy the console, the cable for the controller mimics the PlayStation 1
Yep.
controller adapter. And I'm like, man, like fuck. Like every time, bro. Gamers are so fucking prone to nostalgia bait.
Mm-hmm.
Myself included. Yeah, but there's no prices on these yet, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested I'm interested to see if they have the gall to charge more than $700 for the 30th anniversary Pro.
Yeah. Bouncing off what you said about nostalgia bait pack, because I know there were just like a handful of people that were upset about the disc plate not being part of this 30th anniversary collection.
Okay, so I want to clarify. The consoles do come with a separate gray faceplate for a disk drive. So that if you buy a disk drive separately, you don't have to stick a white disk drive on your Pro. So they do come with an extra gray faceplate for a disk drive.
Mm-hmm.
I think what people are upset about is the fact that they're just not making separate PlayStation 1 themed faceplates
Right.
for people who already own a console.
Right.
So, and I kind of wish they had done that too, since the faceplates are swappable. But they make more money this way. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all there is to it, man.
Yep.
There's also a PlayStation 1 themed PlayStation Portal that you can pick up if you're someone who wants a PlayStation Portal in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not one of those people. My dad is. My dad has a Portal, but yeah. So this will be up for pre-order from PlayStation in 2 days, and then October 10th at other retailers. And Godspeed to anybody trying to get that PlayStation 5 Pro. 12,300 of them worldwide. So
Mm-hmm.
good
Now,
luck.
but before we move on, Pat, do you think PlayStation is wanting to charge $700 for this to kind of make up the funds that they lost from Concord?
No,
No.
I think this was there's no way.
I only
This
ask
was
because I know that's been the running joke since this announcement.
yeah, no. Like it's funny to think that, but they definitely already had this like
Right.
priced and set aside before Concord failed. From what it sounds like, very insightful. I saw a clip from like Concord devs or people who were like inside Concord on a podcast recently, and they were talking about it and pretty insightful stuff, man. Sony was expecting Concord to be like a Star Wars level franchise for
Right.
them.
Yeah, I guess
Going
it came out
forward.
about the game's budget, $400 million.
$400 million
Woo!
because it was in development for like 8
Yeah.
years. And there was like a culture of toxic positivity inside the offices that just like completely brushed off any criticism or anything
Jesus.
like any potential negative feedback about the game. Um Woo! What a mess.
What a mess indeed. And Pat, there's another mess that's been involved in the gaming community. For those that are just getting into the oh so great game of Palworld, Nintendo is suing them. But not for what you think though. They're suing Palworld for patent rights. So this is what actually Nintendo released on their website back on the 19th of this month. The Nintendo company, together with the Pokemon company, filed a patent infringement lawsuit in the Tokyo District Court against Pocket Pair Incorporated on September 18th, 2024. Pocket Pair being the parent company of the game.
The Palworld devs, yeah.
The lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that Palworld, a game developed and released by the defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. Nintendo will continue to take necessary actions against any infringement of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand itself, to protect the intellectual properties it has worked hard to establish over the years. Patrick?
Yep.
Didn't Nintendo actually win a lawsuit just the same time they sued Palworld for another game that quote unquote copied Pokemon? Or am I thinking of something entirely?
Well, I know they've successfully shut down several fan games, but I don't think they've actually, sued someone for like patent infringement before. Okay. To be honest, when I just saw the headline that Nintendo was filing a lawsuit against Pocket Pair, I thought it was just because Palworld straight up plagiarizes several Pokemon designs. Like, I'm not even fucking with you, dude. As someone who played Palworld for a month, like it's very, very obvious that some of these designs just like blatantly plagiarize Pokemon. But what they're actually suing for is patent infringement. And
do you think Palworld is in trouble?
It's possible. I mean, the patents that Nintendo has in terms of Pokemon is for the game mechanic of using like a spherical device to catch creatures. Like that is their gameplay patent that they have, and it's recognized in Japan as a legitimate patent. So that is like they own that game mechanic of using spherical devices to capture creatures. Which is insane. I think gameplay mechanic patents are stupid and a terrible idea. But I digress. If it's a valid patent in the eyes of the law, it's a valid patent in the eyes of the law. Nintendo has probably the best lawyers in the business.
Right. So speaking of that, Pat, I actually did find the game that they actually did sue recently. White Cat Project, which was a mobile game. This is coming from Paul Tassi on Forbes. He said that in an interview with Serkin Toto on 44 Media, the CEO of Japanese consulting firm Katan Games, he has dire predictions for Palworld chances here given from Nintendo's history, and goes on to talk about the lawsuit with White Cat Project, which showed up claiming 6 patent violations. And what did this result into? A $20 million settlement in licensing fees paid to Nintendo. I think, I know you said that probably Palworld is in trouble, Pat. I believe Palworld is in trouble.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how they'll get out of it or weasel their way out of it or settle or what the damages will be, but yeah.
I mean, if Nintendo can do that to a mobile game, I think they can do that to a game that has reportedly earned $500 million this year.
Oh yeah, I mean it blew up. It was a sensation online. So yeah, truthfully, well, I guess it took as long as it did because drafting legal documents and filing lawsuits takes a while. But I'm almost surprised they didn't hop on this sooner than they did.
Right. Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, this took them quite a while for them to because I know there were talks about it. There have been rumors, and it's finally happened. So it did take them quite a while for them to
Gotta
to
cover
do
their
that.
bases too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you have a good point there. I like what Paul Tassi says at the end of his article. Like, Nintendo looks terrible in this situation, like a common patent troll who is grabbing at a successful game for what it's very likely going to be obscure patents that may end up sounding ridiculous. This isn't going to be Palworld stealing code or assets. Maybe they showed someone's shadow behind a tree.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul Tassi, we love you, man. Oh boy, Pat. Let's keep an eye on this because this is a very interesting stuff just happening in the gaming community.
Oh, yeah. Video games are crazy.
Pat, let's jump into
You want to talk about the two TV shows you watched?
Let's do it, Pat.
Because I didn't have time to watch these.
It's all good, Pat. Let's jump into our Marvel Madness segment, everybody, talking about, of course, the new show that has dropped, Agatha All Along, which, by the way, when it was teased, had like, I'm probably exaggerating, but had like 7 different titles before it finally was titled Agatha All Along, which, great marketing on there, Marvel. But, so the spin-off show from WandaVision has finally dropped, Agatha All Along. This is what the plot synopsis reads on IMDb. A spellbound Agatha Harkness regains freedom thanks to a teen's help. Intrigued by his plea, she embarks on the Witch's Row trial to reclaim her powers and discover the teen's motivations. Pat, Marvel has been hit or miss. I think especially since Endgame.
Yeah, post-Endgame Marvel has an interesting batting average, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, we've gotten some great stuff. Shang-Chi was a great surprise. Of course, you know, the Spider-Man, the 2 Spider-Man movies post-Endgame had been a lot of fun. And you know what? I know I know there was a lot of controversial around it, but I thought Black Widow was a lot of fun, to be honest.
I thought Black Widow was just okay.
It was okay, but, you know, I think still fun. But we did get the introduction of one of their best characters, Yelena.
Right.
And of course, with post-Endgame, Phase 4 came out, and Phase 4 did start with a lot of the TV shows, which did start with WandaVision. So where does Agatha All Along belong? Well, Pat, when you do watch it, you may agree with me, you may not, but I thought Agatha All Along had a slow burn.
Okay.
But when episode 2 dropped, and they're getting a lot of things together, so Agatha can reclaim her power, things are getting pretty interesting.
Okay.
However, some characters kind of come and go. But this being, you know, a show, you know, especially on a streaming service, I'm sure a lot of it will get explained. But overall, I thought the first 3 episodes were, you know, exactly what Marvel wants us to have, and that's just a good, fun time. And it does have, Agatha does have a lot of intrigue.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I liked was that, well, first of all, we're back in Westview. And do you know any spoilers at all, Pat? Because I know there were some spoilers in the trailer.
For Agatha? No, I haven't watched. I didn't watch any trailer.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything on Twitter, anything like that.
So, well, we know that Agatha can't really have her powers because she can't regain her powers because of the spell that Wanda gave her at the end of WandaVision, right? Mm-hmm. Well, something does happen, And when you do watch it, Pat, you'll know what I mean. But something does happen where Agatha is allowed to get her powers back. Will that thing kind of come back to bite Agatha in the butt? Maybe. There's been a lot of theories on it. But overall, I think it's the same thing how I feel about when WandaVision was first released. There's really not much we can really say, other than it's just a lot of intrigue.
Right.
A lot of stuff's going to get answered later on in the show, and I know Marvel. When it comes to the Marvel movies and shows, everyone has their fan theories, and I will have to jump on the bandwagon of, I think this one theory will come back to bite Agatha in the butt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. Overall, a fun ride, even though it had a slow burn. But I know a lot of people had that same problem with WandaVision. It was a slow burn, It didn't really pick up till after a few episodes in. I think a lot of people will be happy though with the with a certain song that was played at when the show was announced at D23. That song does come back in episode 2, and it's pretty catchy.
Good to know.
But Pat, let's talk about probably one of the best shows. So, let me get the segment here real quick.
And for what purpose
I know
is
it's only
this
one
crime fighting
episode.
device?
I also don't know anything about this, but
Hey, hold on, Pat. I'm pulling up
Evil
how to
beware, we have waffles.
Evil beware, we have waffles. The Penguin. So, anyways, you were saying, Pat?
it's the Penguin. Yeah, so I know it's only one episode out right now. I know very little about this. I just know like the premise is him like taking like a kid or a teenager under his wing essentially off the first episode.
Yeah.
The only scene that I have seen from it is the one where he's eating a sandwich. He's like, well, I asked for extra pickles and they gave me 2 pickles. What? So the regular amount of pickles is 1? Makes no goddamn sense. I'm like, all right, I'm sold.
On IMDb, this is what the plot synopsis is. Following the events of the Batman, Oz Cobb, aka the Penguin, makes a play to seize the reins of the crime world in Gotham. And Pat, we've had many incarnations of the Penguin, from of course the comics and the TV shows and video games, and of course what we got in Batman, the Tim Burton Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Pat, Colin Farrell plays a stunning villain in this episode, and I am so excited to see where this show is gonna go.
Wait.
Like I Agatha had a lot of intrigue. The Penguin takes that intrigue to a next level. I think we're honestly on the verge of one of those like new best TV shows. And
okay.
The fact that this is a spin-off show from the Batman, I think really interests me the most. Because when the Batman first came out, I honestly wouldn't expect a spin-off show to come out from that movie. We really didn't get a spin-off show from the Dark Knight trilogy. And, of course, the Batman that came out in 2022 was supposed to be very different. This was a great surprise. You probably saw what I posted on Facebook. This is probably one of some great television that that DC has done in quite a long time. I stand by that. A lot happens in this episode. Someone important comes in for like the first 5 minutes, and that's where like the whole takeover of that's where the whole like thing of Penguin wanting to take over the streets of Gotham comes into play, and the way that this character does it, man, I'm glad we got a spin-off show from the Batman, and I'm glad it was centered on the Penguin.
Well, happy to hear it.
This was,
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Soon-ish.
This was some intense shit. And it's so, and what I find funny about that, what I said with Agatha having being a slow burn, this first episode of Penguin is very slow, but it's also so intense too.
Right.
Lots of secrets being held with other characters. The whole subplot with, I mean, you said it, Pat. The Penguin takes a teen out from the street. That could have been easily a distracting subplot that goes nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes somewhere at the end of the episode. And it's so cool, and it's so clever how they managed to do that. I think I would have to give Agatha, I think 6 out of 10. At least those first 3 episodes. The Penguin, I have some notes. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
It's that good.
Good to know.
I can't wait to see where this show is going to go. Now, there have been talks like, are we going to see Robert Pattinson Batman come up? If I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't mind if he didn't show up. Let this be centered on let this show be on a smaller scale about about just the crime streets, about just this club owner wanting to be like this king that he wants to be. Leave Batman out of this. I want to see some villainy happen.
Yeah, man, I agree. I don't think we need appearances from, like, you know, every other character from the movie or anything like that. Just, you know, it's called The Penguin, so make it about the Penguin.
Exactly, make it about the Penguin. Will we see some other villains come into play? Penguin does, I guess, kind of spoil, but not really. He does take a visit to Arkham. But no one really, like, no, like, famous villain that anyone knows. It's more obscure. Right. The actor, though, Pat, you'll be happy. It's such a great cameo.
Yeah.
You'll be so happy of the actor that makes a cameo in the Arkham scene. But yeah, Penguin, I'm going to be following that every week.
Cool. I'll start it next week, I think.
Yeah, and what's great, Pat, next week we can talk about also the new Agatha episode and the new Penguin episode too, along with your reviews on everything that I talked about.
Yeah. Sick.
All right, Pat. I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of Party Pastime. Thank you all, everybody, for tuning in. Of course, next week, Patrick will have his review of Agatha and the Penguin. At least the first few episodes that have come out so far. And be sure to tune in next week, everybody, because we are going to be talking about the leaks that have come out of the Nintendo Switch 2. But until then, Patrick, where can they find you on social media?
On socials, you can find me on Instagram at PattyWiseTheClown, and that's it.
You can find me at Tommy.Zombie on Instagram, and that's it as well. It's been a nice party, everybody, and we will see you all next time with our talks about Nintendo leaks. But until then, party on, partiers. Note to self: make sure I press record next time.
Yeah.